Welcome to Great Cave to the Cross Apologetics. I'm Tony.
I'm Patrick.
And good to see you again. We are working our way through James Anderson's book, Why Should I Believe Christianity, right? And he's telling us why he believes and therefore why other people, he's given us reasons why people should believe. Now, we haven't gotten there yet in terms of where we are in the book. We're on the third chapter. Right, and here he's suggesting that Christianity, we have to look at it as a worldview, and so he's told us a little bit about what a worldview is. Right, it answers the basic questions, like where did the world come from? What is ultimate reality? How do we fit in, and that sort of thing. And so we're kind of working through. His take on the Christian worldview. He says it's based on what the Bible has to say, right? And he begins with God and who God is. We've looked a bit about, we began looking at creation here.
We began in the beginning.
Right, in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. And so we just finished heavens and earth.
Yeah.
So we're making our way. Yeah.
We did God. Yeah. We did create.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a really, that verse was full, right?
John MacArthur spent 7 years in Matthew. We're going to spend
that's
4
right.
episodes in Genesis 1:1. That makes us the super Christians.
That's right. Yeah. So, but actually, we're going to move a little further than that this time. Okay. So now we're going to talk about
Hebrews.
That's right. Yeah. To us, right? He made us in this section. He says a little lower than the angels, right? And so, what is that all about? So he tells us that just as every worldview has something to say about God, so too every worldview has something to say about mankind. What kind of beings are we? Where, we came from? What are our purposes? How we're meant to live and where we're headed? Those types of things, right? Worldviews need to answer those types of questions.
Right. That's why you have big name speakers answering those questions. And even if they're scientists, they're trying to answer those questions and they become popular. Jordan Peterson's, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dawkins, et cetera, et cetera. So, we see people, they don't come right out and say, this is my worldview, you should also follow this. But this is essentially what they're doing when they talk about the greater impact of their ideas and where they come from. Yeah,
so even if you believe that we're not headed anywhere, that is a belief about where we're headed. Right. In that instance, nowhere, right?
Right. Where are you going? Nowhere. But according to the Bible, we're created beings, of course, but unlike other living creatures, we're made in the image of God. So in a unique way, we reflect some of the characteristics of our Creator. We're personal beings. We can think and reason. We can make plans and choices. We can experience and express emotions. We understand the distinction between good and evil, and we can make moral judgments. Most wonderfully of all, we're capable of love. We can know the joy of both giving and receiving love from another person. And we talked about that, is that it's reflected in a limited fashion in the inner life of the Trinity.
That's
so
right.
It's fully fleshed out by God, who bestows us certain communicative aspects, qualities that he has that we can share with him. And so that's why in Genesis it says, let us make man in our own image. And so it's not a physical stand in front of the mirror and sketch us out type deal. But it's a way of having a relational aspect that other creatures don't share.
Right. Also, the biblical view that humans are created in the image of God implies that we have great worth and intrinsic dignity, right? Such that we must treat one another with respect and that sort of thing. So part of being made in the image of God means that everyone should be treated with respect. Everyone has dignity. Everyone is an image bearer of the Creator, right? So it gives us, a basis of why there is, we might say, equality, right, in terms of that among all human beings, right? So no person is greater or lesser than the other in terms of this idea of being made in the image of God.
Right.
We're all made in the image of God, and so we're all worthy of respect.
It's the idea too of God subverting that expectation with choosing of secondborns in the Old Testament, or David, who is this puny shepherd kid, and it's clearly not this man, or Jesus coming and being reflective of just a normal person who doesn't really stand out. And so it's also reflected in the good old letter to Philemon from Paul, who says, he's not saying anything about slavery or releasing this person, but he says, treat this person as you would a fellow brother.
That's right.
And that should make Philemon pause and go, ooh, okay, all right.
Regardless of your status in life, or how rich or poor or whatever, right? Social standing, we're all created in the image of God, and so we all have dignity. We all have, and we should be treated and worth, and we should be treated with respect.
It's why the early church looked weird to people, because you had Jews and Gentiles, you had rich people and poor people, you had men and women, all serving one God. It was a sight to behold, if you could behold it. So.
Yeah. Also, being created in the image of God indicates weighty responsibilities on our part. Right?
Man,
so,
I want the good, not the bad.
Right. As the book of Genesis teaches, God has delegated to us the responsibility of ruling over creation. Right. And now, what does this have to? What are the implications of this? Well, this kind of rule implies care and nurture for what God has made. So it's not a license to, dominate and exploit all of nature, but the Bible uses the word stewards of nature, right? We're to care for it. We don't own it. God created it. But he's kind of put us in charge, and so we should do a good job with it, as it were.
Yeah,
right?
Again, a relationship aspect. It's I think a big idea within the Christian worldview is this relationship aspect. So it's God who saves, but He uses us.
Right.
Prayers don't change God's mind, but He uses prayer in order for change to occur. And so G.K. Beale has a really good book on this, expansive nature of the garden motif within the original Garden of Eden, and then the tent of meetings, and then the temple, and then the church, and then the end times. And I'll include that in the links below. So I think it's God dwells with us, something along those lines. It was an excellent book. So another vital element of the creation worldview is that men and women are equally created in the image of God. While men and women are obviously different in significant respects, God designed the two genders to complement one another. I'm sorry, we just lost the YouTube on us, so please don't report us. We're coming from the underground. We're in the underground city of Alberta, Canada. No, I don't know. Providence, I understand. Yeah. So nowhere is this seen more vividly than in marriage, the foundation for family life, which serves in turn as the basic building block of human societies. In the Christian view, marriage is both a divine gift and a divine institution. So when were people married? Before the government came around.
Wow.
But also because God's the ultimate arbiter of those things. So it's divinely inspired. So get your own things, weirdo people.
That's a government.
Yeah.
God has marriage, not you.
Yeah.
Right? Get your own
Stop it.
institution.
Yeah. You're appropriating our culture.
or God's, domain.
Yeah.
Right? So one question every worldview addresses at some level is this: why are we here? Right? So we're created, God created us in His image, but why? Right? Or posed another way, what's our ultimate purpose? Right?
Well, you're just a cosmic accident. You have no real special quality to you. The only thing special about you is that your ancestors happen to survive to make you. And so the fact that you aren't dead right now is what those religious fundamentals call a miracle.
Yeah. But really, it's an accident of nature.
Right.
Yeah. So the Christian worldview offers a supremely positive and motivating answer to the basic question of why are we here and what our ultimate purpose is. It can be stated, he tells us, in various ways, but one classic summary statement comes from a 17th century Christian doctrine known as the Westminster Shorter Catechism. Yeah. Right? The ultimate purpose, he kind of paraphrases this statement a little bit. The ultimate purpose of mankind is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever.
Right. Which is important and informs all the rest of the catechism. So in terms of a Christian worldview, the rationale for the answer isn't difficult to discern. Since God is our creator and perfect in every way, he is supremely worthy of our praise and worship. God didn't have to create us, but he freely chose to do so as an expression of his power and goodness. And we see this in places like Romans 9 for, why did God create different types of people? That answers that there. And also, again, this relationship aspect to our creation.
Yeah. Yeah, so this explains why we are to glorify God, right? Because he is our creator and he is the ultimate, right? And we are his image bearers, and so glorify here has to do with reflecting what he's like, right? That's the idea here. And so that's why we glorify God and enjoy him, because he created us for his joy and our joy.
Right. It's not this this idea of stacking, rule books upon you until you're, shaking like a 1950s, Leave It to Beaver sketch of how much homework do I have?
Yeah.
So the next portion is Rebels Without Hope. So again, we're moving quickly from Genesis 1 to Genesis 3.
Yeah, really.
So consider what we've covered up at this point. At the foundation of the Christian worldview is the conviction that the universe is the creation of an absolute, personal, perfect God. And this theocentric understanding first. God made the universe and he made it good. What's more, God created us in his own likeness.
All right, so he created this universe. It was all good. He created us. He created us in his likeness. So we have this special dignity, and we should be, and honor because of that, and we should respect one another.
And that's what we find today. Everything's good.
Whatever.
There's no strife whatsoever.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
No one sneeze. Okay. So clearly, this is at odds with the world that we find it today. There are countless things in the universe that aren't good, and there are countless things about us that aren't good either. So isn't the Christian worldview proven false right from the very start? It's dead on arrival.
Yeah, so it says that all this is good, that God created. God is a good God. God is a perfect God. He's perfect in his goodness. He created this perfect world. He created human beings made in his image. But that's not what we see, right? And so it seems to go against our experience, right? And so that's why he's suggesting, is it dead on arrival, right?
As long as you don't turn the page.
That's right.
So flip the page over and you see.
Okay, so there's more to the story.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So for Christianity affirms not only the doctrine of creation, but doctrine of the fall. Both of these need to be affirmed together in order to make sense of the world as we know it today. Again, we look at the chapter 1 where it talks about the ability to know truth, and then chapter 2, worldviews need to be able to talk about certain things. So not just what the world came into being and was like, but how to explain the things that we are currently today experiencing. Is there explanatory power outside of its own self? Can it explain things about the outside world and what it's like? Even if the idea is there's no outside world, you're just experiencing lines of code. Okay, then you need your Morpheus to come through and tell you wake up.
That's right. Take the red pill.
Right. Only if you want. So the fall. Both of these need to be affirmed in order to make sense of the worldview as we know it today. It's the Christian worldview.
So we have the creation, created good, perfect, and mankind, all human beings are created in the image of God. But we don't see that, and that's the explanation of that is the fall, right? So one might say that from a Christian perspective, our world, because of the fall, is ruined, right? It's a ruined castle, we might say. It was once magnificent, and it still shows signs of this greatness, even though it has been corrupted and spoiled, right? And so how did this happen? Well, the short answer is, Anderson tells us, it's our fault, right? According to the Bible, the world is in the state it's in because we have messed it up. We haven't lived up to, to the way that God intended us to live, and the consequences have been absolutely dire, because we haven't done that.
Right.
So we've messed up.
Right. We were printing money that we didn't have in our checking account, and we messed up. So it's only our parents' fault. That's it. So Adam and Eve, the first human couple, were created to live in perfect, loving fellowship with God and with each other. In order to do so, they had to observe the laws laid down by the Creator. One law.
That's right.
One law. But also, I understand. I would have broken it as well.
Yeah.
So laws that acknowledge their
But
proper
still, it
place.
was just one.
I mean, be fruitful and multiply. That's easy. Yeah, I don't have a choice. Dominate the land and take it outward perspective until the land be good purveyors. Sure. Okay. Just don't eat from this one.
That's right. The one negative law there.
Right. Right. And it's something that I think God would have given because he looked on all creation and saw that it was good.
Yeah.
So it's not like the tree was an evil tree. It was just the law he told them to not eat from it.
Yeah.
So the law that acknowledges their proper place in the world and the distinction between good and evil, between godliness and non-godliness, is this basic duty that they failed. Yeah. While they had the capacity to obey God's law, they also had the capacity to disobey. That is to say, they had the freedom to choose between good and evil. And again, we can only go based on what the Bible reveals to us on what that nature is. And so we can speculate on different, word choices there and different amounts of ability to choose. But ultimately, the Christian worldview says they had the ability to choose, and they chose incorrectly. And for reasons we may never understand, they choose to go their own way rather than follow the way of blessings set out for them. They committed high treason against the king. Yeah. So again, using this motif of the Lord going against the Lord would be this type of treason.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting how he puts it here. They chose rather to follow their own way, right? To go their own way.
Right.
And that's the essence of how, the situation got messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of obeying God's way and doing what the Creator said was the best, they chose to go their own way and make that decision themselves. Right.
Again, which talks to the worldview. It's a theocentric, a God-centered idea of creation, of man, of the universe, of heaven, of earth, and they go against that order. They go against the naturally created order. So this isn't something that you did a naughty thing, here's the thing. They completely upended the naturally created order that God has laid out to them.
Yeah. And so this act of cosmic treason, as he calls it, was catastrophic for the human race and for the world at large, right? So not only did it affect the human race, but it also affected everything else, right? In terms of what was in the world. Its consequences can be captured, he tells us, in 3 words: condemnation, corruption, and curse. Right?
Good alliteration. Right?
That's right. Good for you. Yeah. So in the first place, then, the fall brought about condemnation on all mankind. Right? We were condemned. According to the Bible, Adam was every man. Right? He represented the entire human race, such that when he rebelled against God, it wasn't just one man's rebellion, it was mankind's rebellion, right?
Right.
So he represented all of us, and he did what we all would have done, is the idea here. Precisely because God is absolutely pure in his goodness and justice, what the Bible calls his holiness, our rebellion alienated us from him and brought us under his righteous judgment, which is condemnation.
Right. And so you have to have this idea, even with other types of religion that have other deities, is you have to kind of have this idea of, okay, something went wrong. It needs to explain what went wrongness or what has always been wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also there has to be an understanding of, if your God is just or good, as you claim, then how can he let you back into his presence? And so that's I think a problem that the Islamic version of God has, is there's no redemption there. It's just you did the thing and now you're made. You're good. So secondly, the fall brought a corruption to the human race. Not only did Adam spoil his relationship with God, He spoiled himself and his descendants. Human nature became stained with sin, so that we are all born rebels by nature. We're haters of God. We love our sin. We love the corruption. We're sons and daughters of our father, the devil, as Jesus would tell us.
Right, because he's the first one that did this.
Right.
And
reflecting it.
we reflected. We were following in his footsteps. Right. Notice Anderson tells us he spoiled his relationship with God.
Theocentric.
That's right. So he went against what God wanted. He went his own independent way. He spoiled his relationship with himself. And then finally he spoiled his relationship with all his descendants.
Right.
Other people that existed and that were to be coming into existence.
Right. And I'm sure his wife wasn't too happy with him when you said, "Oh, the woman that you gave me, it's her fault."
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
I thought we were in this together, man. So our hearts are inclined towards our own selfish interests rather than towards God. It doesn't come naturally to us to love God and our fellow human beings. Instead, selfishness and conflict are the human fruit of the human heart.
And all you have to do is look at a 2-year-old. Right?
Very true.
I mean, it doesn't come natural. You got to work hard to get those little fellas and gals, in shape.
And so, again, going back to the nature of story and myth, we enjoy characters that have this idea of rising above their stature, their nature, and being kind to other people. Even the mighty king who would step down from his horse and give to the poor woman. We like those stories because I think it points us to the ultimate story of Christ's redemption and coming down and
it also reminds us of what we should do and what we could do.
Right. And so also the Bible talks about this idea of all sin. If I sin against you, it's yes, it is a sin against you, but ultimately a sin against God, because it's again showing us upsetting the natural order is that ultimately we're subject to God, and then we're subject to each other by that relationship aspect.
Right. So it's amazing, what this initial, what he's called treason, or decision to go against what God says, the tremendous effect of it. Now, some people argue, well, it's not fair, but hey, look, it's kind of like this. If we're all in a room and I come in with a lead box, and inside the lead box is, let's say, plutonium, and I open up the lead box, well, notice I'm not the only one affected by the plutonium, right? Everybody in the room is affected. Mm-hmm. And so Adam, as it were, opened up the lead box, kind of the Pandora box kind of thing, right?
Not the music one.
And everybody is affected, right? From there on. He kind of caused the whole human race to fall as a result of that. And again, the Bible seems to imply that we all would have done that. Mm-hmm. Right? We all would have been selfish and gone our own way against God.
And you have other worldviews that also try and do this. Even Dawkins himself wrote The Selfish Gene. Why are we like this? Well, we have genes that do these things. And so it's not like we're Christianity is antithetical to science. There are, is it nurture or nature? And we say yes. We take the straight path towards all of it. So thirdly, the fall brought a curse on the world, a curse inflicted on the creation by the Creator himself as part of the penalty for human sin, and a continual reminder of our predicament. So if you just have God say, "Oh, Adam, it's fine. You did a bad thing." Well,
but I forgive you.
Wouldn't then the critic say, "Well, God just did this thing, but he's supposedly this holy, supreme, above everything being." And
so where's justice? Yeah. Where's his justice?
Where's justice? Or so he doesn't need pure people that he created. They can just do whatever they want whenever they want. Okay, but it doesn't seem like that's the type of God that is the supreme part of the personal supreme. So his original design was that we would live in harmony with one another and with our environment. But now we experience alienation from God, from each other, and from the natural world.
Right. So not only did it affect us, our relationship with God and others, but it also affected the whole world, right? The our environment, the world that we live in, all of that is affected as a result of the choice that was made.
Right. So there is sickness, poverty, war. We're constantly threatened by natural disasters such as earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, diseases, and famines. Our world bears all the marks of creation that was originally good, but now is horribly broken, cursed.
Yeah.
So no hope. Zero.
So for mankind, the most painful and humiliating element of the fall is, of course, death, right? Death is encompasses all three aspects of the fall: condemnation and corruption and curse. Right? Death isn't a cessation of existence, as in many non-Christian worldviews, but rather it's a state of separation from the source and author of life. So the Bible seems to indicate that death has to do with separation, right? We die physically, the spirit is separated from the soul or from the body. We die spiritually, our spirits are separated from the source of life, which is God. So death has to do with separation, right? Yeah. Our rebellion against God has separated us from him. And like a lake cut off from the streams of fresh water, he tells us, that feeds it, such is the fate of those who turn their backs on their Creator.
Right. Right. And you have people like Gary Habermas, who's kind of known for minimal facts argument, the resurrection. One of his other pet projects that he likes doing is near-death experiences. And so he's done work on that, talking about kind of this idea that life exists beyond the physicality. So when you have people say, "Oh, what's it like after death?" "Oh, it's like what it was before you were born. It was nothing." Well, I mean that doesn't follow whatsoever.
Right.
The sun will come up tomorrow. How do you know that? Well, because it came up yesterday. I mean, how do you get that inference?
Is that guaranteed?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no one's come back to tell us except for a few people, but we don't take their testimony credibly. So okay. All right, so according to the Christian worldview, then, we are tragically fallen creatures from our earliest years. Our hearts are inclined towards evil, and all of us are capable of great wickedness. Again, ask your 2-year-old,
he wants what he wants when he wants it.
You don't have to teach the word no.
And if you don't give it to him, you're going to know that.
Yeah. Put the cotton in your ears. Yeah. Even when we act respectably, we do so with mixed motives and impure hearts. And the worst part of this, we cannot fix ourselves.
So we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble in terms of we're, cursed and condemned and all these types of things. But it's even worse than that.
Right.
There's nothing that we can do to fix it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right?
Both morally and spiritually, we have dug a deep pit and jumped into it, and now we cannot climb out.
So we're stuck.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Well, we have to join us next time in order to get the 12 secrets of how to live the perfect life. Just click this video, and there'll be a thumbnail with arrows pointing different directions. And so very clickbaity, like we make our short clips that you can go to on our YouTube page and essentially watch this whole video or listen to the video, or listen to this in video form. And break it up throughout your week. Enjoy doing those things, and hopefully you can share them around. And hopefully you'll join us next time when we hopefully maybe conclude the
conundrum that we find ourselves in. Right? Solve this problem, right?
And figure out if we have hope.
Yeah.
And so, does the Christian worldview explain that? Yeah. Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's it.
Find out more.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So join us next week, and thank you for doing everything that you've done. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the people that have subscribed, that listen to, that visit the website, caveofthecross.com. And we put book reviews up there, other shows that we're on. There's interviews. There's all our past episodes. So give it a check out, and feel free to let us know what you think. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.